live. Hey, we are live. Okay.
What?
What? Who? Hey, welcome to another episode of the Accidental Survivors. This is Fraser.
This is Rob.
And Todd just dropped out of this call, so
And this is Todd, and I hate Max.
we're going to have a hell of a night, I think. And to make that night go a little bit easier, Rob, what are you drinking right now?
Well, I actually, by personal choice, actually not really by personal choice, more like a medical choice, I'm actually off alcohol right now.
Good dear.
Yeah, it's a hereditary thing that my dad and his father both had to deal with, and I'm dealing with it too. So I just got to be careful, you know.
Yeah.
I don't drink a lot in the first place. But anyways, I'm having a San Pellegrino.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I actually quite enjoy that.
Very refreshing.
Yeah. Bubbly.
Yeah.
It's bubbly.
Yeah, it's quite nice. But you know, I get it's the actual what they call the aranciata or aranciata, which is the orange flavored one. And you can't get it. It's actually hard to get outside of restaurants or cafes, but Sobeys sells it. So I'll slip into Sobeys every once in a while and pick myself up
Very nice.
a 6-pack. What are you drinking?
Well, I'm glad you asked so I can finally open it. It is Founders Brewing Backward Ale Aged in Oak Bourbon Barrels.
And how is it?
It's excellent. I actually had it before. My brother-in-law, my sister's family was up a couple of months back, actually. And he's part of I don't know how this works. He's part of a Beer of the Month club where they actually ship him beer.
Okay.
I didn't think that was legal, but I guess it is. And this is one of the ones that he got, and he didn't really enjoy it. It was too strong for him. It is stronger than Innocent Gun. It's 10.2%. So it's stronger than Innocent Gun, not right. Innocent Gun, which is going to be a role-playing game setting, but Innis and Gun. But I quite like it. Again, for me, the rum finish Innocent Gun remains the best of the strong beers. But honestly, if you get a chance to try this Founders Brewing Backwoods Bastard, if you like something like Innocent Gun where you do have a little bit stronger alcohol, and you can taste the bourbon or the rum or the scotch, if you dig that, definitely try this because I really quite enjoy it. It's definitely up in the running with one of my favorites. So that's Backwoods Bastard. Unlike me, who's a backwards bastard.
Frontwards bastard.
Frontwards, all around bastard. Todd, what are you drinking?
I am actually going classy tonight.
His own tears, by the sounds of it.
Oh, you have no end. If there is anyone who works in Apple at the moment, you and I need to have a chat. Anyways, I'm actually going
back with a lead pipe.
Shh, don't tell them until after. I'm going actually with a glass of red wine because I just put the Christmas tree up. Oh, yes, I decided to dignify this podcast a little bit.
So what kind of red wine?
It's actually a homemade. It's my mother-in-law makes it, and considering the fact that we actually get along, I wasn't worried at all when I opened it.
There was no little curl of green smoke that came up out of it.
No. In fact, actually, you know, and just to play it just a little extra cautious, I made sure that she had some too. So unless she's like a very deft sleight of hand artist, you know, I think we're gonna be safe. You know, but then again, if I suddenly, you know, cut out again and then you never hear from me again, please call the police right away.
What you don't know is that she spent the last 5 years in Australia building up an immunity to iocane powder.
I don't
references.
I don't get that reference.
I'm sorry to hear that. Rodents of unusual size? I don't believe they exist. Cool. All right. So we've got some homemade red wine.
That's one of the most quotable
fuck yeah
movies.
It's also one of the best. It holds up so well. I watched it recently, and yeah, it really holds up. It's such a great movie. Just in case there's anybody on the planet Earth who doesn't get the references, it's The Princess Bride. And if you have not seen it, you really have to see it.
I
Suddenly-
just got my wife to watch it for the first time about a month or so ago on Netflix, and the only reason why was because of it being referenced on Big Bang Theory and a couple of other sitcoms that she watches.
Yep.
In all honesty, and this just goes to show how much my wife is not into chick flicks, that when I described the plot and she said, and so why are you into a chick flick? I'm like, no. See, that's the funny thing. It's not really a chick flick.
Yeah.
Loads of guys love it.
And all discerning people love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just about anyone. If you said something about rodents of unusual size or iocane powder, they're going to get it. Sort of the same as like saying, so you're saying there's a chance, or like, game over, man, game over.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They mostly come out at night. Mostly.
Or like 3/4 of a mile, call the ball. All these.
We could do this all night. But I
Negative
don't think
Ghost
that would
Rider,
make
the pattern is full.
we'll make a very entertaining podcast.
No, people know exactly where it's all coming from.
Yep. At least the three people that listen to this podcast, which
Yeah.
are us. So
Oh, the rug.
Anyways.
That rug really tied the room together.
I believe it's called user content, actually.
yeah, it's called fan service.
Yeah.
But hey, one of the things I want to talk about, and I don't know if it's really going to be a good topic to discuss, and this might go nowhere, and I might sound like a total idiot, but was the portrayal of women and minorities in mass media as seen from like us who are white males.
I find it's an interesting topic. I find that when we are a forum completely made up of white males, it's a tricky thing to talk about.
Well, and I
We're
think
sort of speaking from our. I mean, I hate saying I don't hate it, but there's the whole privilege thing, and
Yep.
we are speaking from our positions of privilege, and there's no other side.
right. No,
so to
you're
speak.
absolutely correct, and which is why we really have to predicate it by saying we're white males.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really come about as being the father of two daughters and wanting them to be able to enjoy, like, basically enjoy media kind of the way that I enjoyed it, and have the kind of not just so much role models, but identifiable characters they can identify with that I always had. And it's tough because most of the things that are that I watch, I mean, I don't even talk about kid stuff. I mean like adult stuff. So things that I watch that I would think like maybe they could watch at some time in the future, or something that my wife might want to watch because she does like action movies and stuff. It's just I'm getting really. So again, this really came about because of Strike Back. And those of you who know this series, it's not highbrow by any stretch of the imagination.
Nope.
But by the way, hi Chris, how you doing?
Oh, Chris is here.
Yeah, I think I might be here.
Oh,
He
okay.
could be.
Hey
For
guys,
now.
Chris is in.
Okay, but hey, while we got you, what are you drinking?
Ooh, I'm drinking a Innocent Gun Bourbon Stout.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've got a you weren't here, but I've got a Backwoods Bastard, which is a American
Who
craft.
keeps serving him drinks?
I call him Gus.
It's a
He
good
needs
name.
power.
Yeah.
But it's ale aged in oak bourbon barrels.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's
So
10.2%.
Wow, that's got a kick to it then.
It's heavy. It's heavy, but it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
It was bequeathed to me by my brother-in-law because he didn't like it. So
Did he apologize for bequeathing on you?
all over.
Queefed all over him.
I liked it.
The Bourbon Stout is actually kind of, I don't know, I would say it's fairly similar to the rum.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not quite as sweet,
Then I might like it more.
but it's close. Yeah.
Well, bourbon is sweeter anyways. Bourbon's like rye. It's sweeter than whiskey. So
Yeah. Anyways, carry on.
Anyways, yeah. So I was just saying, like Strike Back, it's like a guy's adventure action thing, and while it was never highbrow, I mean, the leader of the group, not one of the two like main characters who are both, of course, like white males, but the leader of the group was a black officer, a major, and then I can't remember. I think it was third season they introduced a female leader played by Rona Mitra, who did the
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
yeah. So she was in I just forgot the name. The Neil Marshall movie, the Mad Max post-apocalyptic plague. Oh crap! What the heck's it called? Anyways,
She
the
was
guy
also in
made
Underworld.
Doomsday.
Doomsday. Yes, thank you.
She was
Oh,
also
yes, sure.
she was in Underworld too.
Yes,
Yeah.
she replaced Kate
Underworld.
Beckinsale,
Yeah, Underworld 3, wasn't it?
Yeah.
something like that.
The
Yeah.
Yeah.
Underworld, the Underworldening.
Yeah.
But anyway,
It was the prequel called Above Ground. Anyways.
That's
by
not
the
fun.
by the end of the third season, like they had killed off the colored guy. The black major was dead, and then 2 or 3 episodes into spoiler alert. Anyways, 2 or 3 episodes into the fourth season, of course the female officer goes crazy and gets killed, and now everything's all right with the world because a white male officer is back in charge. It's just,
Thank goodness.
but that's kind of the way it seemed. Like, and I'm sure it's not. Like, I'm sure it's not written like they're, well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to insert a female character so we can make her go crazy, as women all do, and then get killed because women are stupid. It's just the kind of unthinking decision to, like, kill off the black character, kill off the female character. Like, they haven't thought it through. And I mean, like, it's only two main characters, right? So these are all supporting characters anyways. There's only 2 main characters, so there's only so much diversity that they could have, but still, I mean, of course, they're both like white male characters. Then, like, the unit tried, and the unit's British version called Ultimate Force, both tried to insert females in their 3rd or 4th seasons, and both kind of failed because, of course, the women couldn't actually be shooters; they had to be support personnel. So it was just really starting to bug me. Like, I'm actually, of all the stupid things in Strike Back, because there's tons of stupid things in Strike Back, this is the thing that got me stop watching it. I'm like, I just can't continue anymore. So that's a long-winded way of saying that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it.
Well, I think it's a valid point, and I think, I mean, I will admit, up to about a couple of years or so ago, I might not have, I would have thought, no, there's been a fair bit of progress, and I would think if it's not 50-50 between the two sexes, it's pretty close, from that white male privilege point of view. But there just really seems to have been some of these incidences, and I think Gamergate definitely being one.
Yep.
But there just really seems to be this thought in my head now that's like, holy crap, we're not even close.
No.
And I agree. It's almost one of those things where just, I wasn't even the type who was just like, oh, I don't want to see some woman in my action movie. It's like they always seem to have a place. It just always seemed like, it was always just kind of awkwardly treated, or the best you could do was like, Pam Anderson in Barbed Wire, which we all know the reason why she was cast.
Yeah.
And as time has gone on, you can see a lot more, like definitive, like hardcore female action leads, like the Underworld movies we just mentioned. Rona Mitra can definitely handle an action film.
Yep.
So it was one of those things where it's, and now it really does seem that, it's either starting to go backwards, or the people who are resisting this, the 1%, as there is in everything, are really starting to kick up a huge fuss. And I really do think that I'd like to think that there's a kind of benefit to hearing from, 4 white dudes that there is an impression of, what, no, this does suck. There's quite a few male celebrities who are coming out and saying that they're feminists. And I think that it's simply a matter of saying that you believe that women are equal to men in every way, shape, and form. And I think it's one of those things where it's important to be heard, that at the very least that there's, 4 of us here who think, no, this blows. No, we're not going to accept that. And if we see something where we really feel like female characters are only being treated as sex objects, then bam, we're out. Count us out of it. I mean, I have no problem with women being sexy in something, but I want them to have a purpose. So, like, for myself, it's with Gotham. There is the character of Barbara in Gotham who is so completely useless that unless they all of a sudden designate her as being bipolar, then she finally has purpose. Because that character is just up and down, left, right, and center. One week she's supportive, next week she can't handle it. Next week, no, that's okay. Give me all your problems. I'm here for you, baby. Next week, it's like, nope, going back to lesbianism. Like it's just she's there solely, I think, just to kind of fill in this void. It's like, well, we need a female character. He needs a love interest. And there can be so much more. And I find with quite a few shows, like it's really hard to get a good female lead, even a supporting character, save for shows like Game of Thrones, where George R.R. Martin has specifically said, well, I was always under the impression that women were people.
Right.
And actually, I mean, the funny thing is, if you look at the movies that have female action leads, they don't lose money. I mean, some of them do, but it's more about quality. Like the B movies, like you talked about Barbed Wire. Well, Barbed Wire still made money, right? But when you talk about things like Charlie's Angels, which I don't consider a really good version of a female action thing because it's more cheesecake than anything else, but at least it's something. Or like Haywire or Salt, like they all made money. If you want to go back, like there was a movie in the 80s called Gloria, which again was a female action lead. Like these movies do make money, but there's some, so it's not that they can't make money, but that's always what we're told. We're always told that no, people don't want female action leads. It's like, what are you basing that on other than your particular bias or prejudice? Because the numbers, which is usually what Hollywood cares about over and above everything else, seem to indicate that this could be a very lucrative avenue to pursue. But for some reason, they don't want to.
And that's about as far as it goes. Again, it's difficult for me to try to look at this beyond. I shouldn't say it's difficult. It's almost like, well, we can sit here and say, it's absolutely right, but then what can be done about it? Because it just feels like people rail against this and have been for years, but nothing ever changes. It's a massive industry, especially like if we're talking entertainment. It's a massive industry completely controlled by old white men. So is it just a matter of waiting it out? I don't know whether what's been happening in this with Gamergate has made a difference, which is sad to say. I can't tell whether it's made a difference. Sure, it's brought attention, but is anything changing?
Well, I think so. There's a couple things. I think number one that the media distribution paradigm is shifting, and I mean we saw it with music. We're seeing it with books, and it's happening with TV series, movies to a certain extent. And I mean that's basically one of the reasons why you have like people like Felicia Day, who would not have existed 5 or 6 years ago. But now with the ability to reach audiences outside of the studio system or outside of the TV system or even cable, there is some hope that voices can be heard, different voices can be heard, and the kind of support that is being provided to those individuals, hopefully, because again, Hollywood, the guys that the stodgy old men that are running the studios probably do honestly believe that nobody wants to see girls fighting, that kind of thing. But at some point, the numbers are going to shift in the favor of making more inclusive media. And I mean, either they're going to die off, or they're just going to say, "Why are we passing up all this money?" Because someone's going to do it, and someone's going to make more money with it. And I mean, secondly, there's people that work within and outside the studio system, and specifically thinking of Steven Soderbergh, who made Haywire, who will do, I guess not anymore, he's apparently retired from filmmaking, but will do studio movies so that he can finance his independent stuff. I mean, he's made some amazing action movies like The Limey, which is absolutely fantastic. And I mean, even Ocean's 11 is a relatively enjoyable watch. It's not really, that's kind of an action movie, but I mean, I really did enjoy Haywire. It might not be the best movie out there, but I thought it did a really good job of having a believable and solid action, like female action lead.
My problem with that movie in particular was that while the action was decent, I mean, she's a real fighter, her acting was very stiff.
Yeah,
She
well, Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Dolph Lundgren. I mean,
I'm not saying those guys are better, but well, they do have they brought more personality than she did, I would say.
I don't know.
Not in maybe some of their earlier movies, but I don't know.
But exactly, this is like her
Yeah,
first movie.
that's right. No, she was in something before. This is her first. I think was her first leading movie.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was definitely a good effort, but it was, and had they just need, I don't know, it was just lacking something.
I don't
But
know.
anyways, it
But
was
again,
okay.
like compared to the action movies that are coming out of Hollywood right now, I think it stood like head and shoulders above a lot of the crap that's being pumped out.
I don't know about, well, maybe on the stuff
Like
that's
like the
pumped out.
Expendables.
Well, yeah, that was crap.
Exactly.
The first one was entertaining, and then for me, they went downhill drastically after there.
Yeah, I mean the first one was fine for what it was, but
Yeah.
I mean like if you want to stack up Haywire against the movies that were coming out at the same time, I mean outside of, for example, like Hong Kong action movies, you're not going to find too many that actually did a plausible job of providing a half decent script. I mean, really, okay, not Oscar caliber acting, but for action movies, like good solid acting
Yeah.
and
All right.
and like really credible fight scenes. Like, I mean, you're going. Listen, I love Donnie Yen as an actor, right?
Mhm.
He's not the best actor on the planet, but when you go to a Donnie Yen movie, you know why you're going. He's going to
That's right.
kick some serious fucking ass. And I'm not gonna put him up against Chow Yun Fat in an acting scene and say, oh, I don't know, Donnie, you didn't really carry yourself. So I mean that's kind of how I'm evaluating Haywire as well.
Okay. All right. I'll give you that.
Yeah, for the context of what we're talking about, like when I watch that, I'm not a Soderbergh fan in any measure. I always find his stuff seems to be a little lacking. But that movie, she totally sold me on that. And what I found myself walking away from was saying is like, all right, if I see her, and even if she's not holding a weapon, I'm running. Because she would seriously kick the shit out of me and probably many other people, and that I found was what made the role believable. How well she could deliver the dialogue. Yeah, that's like with everything else with a lot of 80s, 90s action films. And in that way, I found it was incredibly successful. But that's also, too, where you have all the other actors, the Michael Douglases, even the Channing Tatums, who were able to kind of help sell it for her.
Right.
She
Well,
gets
there's also a difference.
credibility through the cast.
I think there's a difference between bringing an actor in and teaching them to fight, and bringing a fighter in and putting them in front of the camera.
And yeah, exactly. And I think that both can be successful up to a certain degree. And I think that movie really does show most of her all of her opponents in Haywire were actors being taught how to fight.
Right.
And their acting is obviously much better than even following fight choreography. She sells it a lot more than they did. She sold it a lot more than most male action heroes. Because again,
Sure.
most male action heroes are they are actors that have been taught how to fight, and those who aren't, like Jean-Claude Van Damme or Dolph Lundgren, for example, who are like championship caliber fighters before they got into action movies, none of them can really act very well. I would certainly put her up against almost any fighter turned actor that has been put into a movie, either Hollywood or outside of Hollywood.
I don't know.
And it's also something that comes with
really
time, too.
I was going to say it's not really important for the discussion, but you have some people that have, like, I don't know. See, I would say take someone like The Rock. That guy's got the total package. The guy can fight. He looks great on the screen, and he has charisma.
Okay, he's an actor. He's not a fighter. Wrestlers are. I'm sorry, wrestlers. Wrestlers are actors. I'm sorry. It's true. It's not like he was.
No.
It's not like he was actually in like MMA or.
No, but to say that he doesn't know how to sell a fight on screen is not true. The guy knows how to sell a fight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just like
he
Arnold
did just
Schwarzenegger
do 6
does.
weeks.
Yes.
Right.
Or Sylvester Stallone. Yes, but it's not the same as an actual fighter going onto the screen, right? Like.
Right, and it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Like that traditionally just doesn't work. Doesn't matter if it's male or female.
No,
Putting a fighter in front of a camera, you get a fighter in front of a camera.
exactly. Yeah, and I mean, like even the best of them end up kind of hitting a brick wall. I mean, like Jean-Claude Van Damme was fine for what he was at the time, and interestingly, some of his non-action roles, like he did a walk-on for Friends. He did a pseudo documentary, JCVD, very
Brilliant.
recently. Yeah, exactly. Like, so he's got some chops, but I think in general, most of the directors that are working with them can't draw that out of him when he's working with someone that can actually draw a half decent performance out of him. I think he does fine. And again, I'm sure that Gina Carano, with working with a B movie director, is going to look wooden and horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
But with Steven Soderbergh, he was actually able to bring something out of it, which is amusing that he couldn't do that with Sasha Grey. Like, her performance in The Girlfriend Experience, that I found like totally dead-eyed. Like, she didn't know what she was doing in front of a camera.
Well, she knows what she's doing in front of a camera, just not that way yet.
Exactly, that's my point. Yeah. Like, and again, this is bringing someone else who has professional skill outside of acting into the acting realm and trying to get them to deliver a dramatic performance. But I think Gina did a much more credible job.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched the other one, but
You don't have to.
I wasn't
Really?
planning on it. I wasn't planning on it.
But I mean, and this is the thing. Like, my wife really does enjoy action movies as well, and she loved Charlie's Angels and the second one, Full Throttle, not because they were great cinema, but because she actually got to see girls kicking ass, and she realized that they weren't particularly good movies. But it's like, how often do you get to see this?
Well, maybe not in Hollywood, but you go look at Asian cinema, it's not that uncommon. I mean, you look at Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, it's probably the pinnacle of Asian cinema that's been brought over here. And the female cast in that, I think, were outnumbered the male cast because you only had Chow Yun-fat.
No, you had two main leads. The younger lead, the bandit, he was an up and coming.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the bandit.
So there were two. There was a perfect equality. There was a pairing of the
the witch lady too, but I guess she wasn't really as much of a main character.
And you also had the father and the daughter that were hunting her down.
Right.
Like, so there were, but the main main storyline, there was an equal pairing of veterans and amateurs. Like, actually it was actors as well, but fighters.
Yeah.
But again, that's Ang Lee, and it was a Chinese production, but he is very much an American director. Like, he's not American, but
I know what you mean.
He's in that stream. And yeah, like, there's movies like Chocolate from Thailand, the Heroic Trio from like 80s Hong Kong. But again, they're so far outnumbered by the male vehicles that even when they're kind of not that good, there's just so few to choose from, and that's the problem.
When you look at it, though, compared to what it used to be, I mean, let's face it, the only 80s, 90s action movie that I can think of with any kind of decent caliber would have been La Femme Nikita. And now take a look at it. I mean, like, it's a slow rise, but I think that you do see a rise, and there was a bit of a spike going at a time that made quite a few careers, like Kate Beckinsale. You could even say Angelina Jolie's career was heightened by doing the Tomb Raider movies, be that what they may.
Yep.
So I think comparatively, we have seen a bit of a rise, just maybe not as fast as we would like to see.
Actually, the 80s were the kind of a pinnacle for actresses to be the centers of action franchises, because you had both Sigourney Weaver in Alien and
don't say Cynthia Rothrock.
No, I just blanked on her name from Terminator.
Oh, Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton from Terminator.
Yeah. But, I mean, with Linda Hamilton, it was just the one film for her. I mean, like, she really only was an action star in that one film. And, and it very much worked in that particular case, and you've seen a little bit more of it since then. I mean, but that was more so, too, that's James Cameron's choice. And I think that's one of the other things, too, because I was about to make a point about Joss Whedon, someone who is well known for actually having very, significant ass-kicking female leads and supporting characters. And now that he's been able to blossom because of Avengers, you see more and more opportunity with him, But I think one of the biggest issues may be just the fact that, because it is still a male-dominated field of, film direction, production, I think there's quite a few men that just don't know how to write for women. I know I'm one of them. I mean, like, it's as much as I like to see better female characters, at the same time, too, I don't know if I could, really write them properly and respectfully simply because I don't know how to actually think like a woman.
You know what? Okay, so this is really interesting because about a year and a half ago, I was encountering the same thing. I wanted to write something that my daughters might be able to read when they got older, and I was questioning my ability to do so. And then I came across the first part, the first book of a novel series that I've been working on back in, it must have been the mid, like 2002, 2003, where the main character and two of the supporting characters so it was basically half male, half female, and the female point of view and the male point of view were equal. And I'd written this, and the two people that I workshopped it with were both female romance authors, and it passed with flying colors. They loved it. So I think that, and I mean, like Josh Jordan, who got me to write for his a heroin game, heroin with an E, we might add, and we've mentioned Josh Jordan lots of times on this podcast. Look him up. Very talented young man, but his game, he got me to write a supplement for the game, and he came to me, and Heroin is about basically Alice in Wonderland or Labyrinth, where young women are placed in perilous positions in strange lands, and they find their way through, and they become heroic. They become heroines. And when he contacted me about this, I said to him, Josh, I really don't think I can do this. He's like, oh, come on, sure you can. And he pushed me, and I said, okay, actually, you know what? You're right, Legend of Korra. That's what I want to do. I want to do a rip-off. I'm going to say it, a rip-off. I'm going to rip off Legend of Korra. He's like, there you go, boom. So I think a lot of times, just as a lot of female authors can write males, I think males can write females. But I think that we question our ability to do so because we think that they're so different. But as I believe it was Neil Gaiman said, I don't write female characters, I just write characters. And Backwoods Bastard is really good beer, by the way. I just want to say that. Anyways, there might not be anything more to say about this. It was something that was really bugging me, and it honestly surprised me that it bugged me so much.
My microphone was muted. I was talking to you guys, and no one was answering me. I felt so afraid and alone.
It was actually, it was kind of nice.
Well, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Yeah, I'll just do that.
Rob, your microphone was not muted. No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's past now. I was sort of like interjecting earlier, going, "Yeah, that's an interesting point." Oh yeah, the whole time.
Why are you ignoring me? What did I do?
Again.
But and one of the things that I mentioned in on the blog was just that I would actually really like to see something like Strike Back, but with Donnie Yen and Gina Carano. I think that would be fucking awesome. And they could just, I mean, both of them are really good with firearms as well, but can you imagine just the fucking fisticuffs? It would just be outstanding.
I'll get the crew that did the raid to do it.
Oh, God. Oh. I need new pants now. Oh. That would be amazing. What's hilarious about the raid is that's a Welshman. The director of that is a Welshman. Yeah.
I don't know. I never really looked into it. So that's kind of interesting.
His story is hilarious. Like so they needed to make a movie, and he knew a guy in Indonesia, and they're like, "So you're a filmmaker?" And he was like, he had made like one short or something like that. I was like, "Sure, I am." They're like, "Why don't you come over here and make a movie?" He's like, "Okay." Boom, he's got a career.
Nice.
His story is really interesting. I mean, like there was an interview with him on one of the podcasts, I think Empire or something. But anyways,
yeah,
it's yeah,
that's cool.
He would be an awesome guy to do something like The Raid, but like in the format of Strike Back or The Unit or something like that. Oh man, I would watch the fuck out of that. And just like we mentioned, Haywire for Gina Carano, I think probably Donnie Yen's best for fight scenes, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Flashpoint might be some of the absolute best, just straight up like punch in the face scenes in any of his movies.
I don't know. I'm a big Tony Jaa film. I mean, like I skip past all the talking parts just because I find it's always. Maybe it's just the translation, but I mean, I find in his movies it's all like really lame talky. I'm not really a fan of his sidekick there. But I mean, when it comes to hardcore action, where it's like, oh, I think some stuntman got killed making this movie. Him, in a nutshell.
The only, I shouldn't say the problem I have with Tony Jaa. I mean, his action scenes are fantastic.
Oh God.
The down or the, I don't know what I want to call it, downside. It's after seeing all his movies, it's the same action scene over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely well done. Like, it's masterful, but he has the same fight every time. Whereas if I look at someone like, to me, like Jet Li in shit, what's the movie? Danny the Dog.
Oh yeah, Unleashed.
Unleashed, Danny the Dog, whatever you want to call it. Like, for me, for pure raw fight scenes, that for me is my definitive. Like, that's the movie.
Absolutely.
I can't think of, off the top of my head, I couldn't think of a movie that has better fight scenes than that. Like a pure, just raw, nasty fight scenes. Except maybe the Raid, but the Raid, the initial parts of the Raid, the fight scenes were good. And then you get to the sort of the grand finale fight scene, and I mean, that's entertaining as hell, but they kind of carry it over to a level where it no longer is as believable.
It goes into fantasy.
A little bit. A lot of it, whatever. A lot of it. Danny the Dog stays pretty grounded throughout the whole film, and given what it's about, like, it's just such a savage, like, whatever. That to me, that movie is just the total package all the way around.
And he does an amazing job of acting in that movie. Like,
Absolutely.
I mean, he really holds his own against everybody that's in that movie with English as a second language and struggling through the whole thing.
I was going to say, he sells it with very little dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of actors that can do a movie with very little dialogue and sell it as well as he did in that movie. Now, you put him up against John Hopkins in that movie and some of the other supporting cast, and he doesn't need to act because the caliber of actors in that movie is fantastic, especially for the type of movie it is. Like, that would be like a throwaway script for a lot of guys out there. Like, I'm not wasting time on this, but I mean, that movie is just awesome. Like, that's just one of those movies that I could watch over and over again.
Yeah,
like,
for just visceral fight scenes. But and again, also the story. I mean, it's a kind of a standard heart-wrenching melodrama, but it's done really well. And you pair that with these incredibly vicious, visceral fight scenes. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can tell it screams Luc Besson. I mean, like, he didn't direct or anything, but I mean, he did work on the script and the story for it. And it is one of those ones where when you hear the plot, it's like, what? And it definitely sounds very European.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get the right people involved and everything, and it really does seem to work. And I think it was one of those ways where I remember seeing him in some kind of an interview when Unleashed came out, and he was talking about how he took it so seriously because of who he was working with.
Yes.
That he even refused to be called Jet or anything like that on set. He would like actually stop and yell at people and say, "No, I'm Danny." Like, he was that committed to the part. And it really, really worked. I mean, it was something where I think the action works because you feel invested in the character. And it is so hard to find those films that actually blend the hardcore action and the intense drama, and they work seamlessly together. And when you find those, it's absolute magic. For me, that's what it was like with Skyfall in particular, and just the latest Bond films. I have this connection with it because it's not just the action sequences, but it's also to what's going on in between. I don't want to skip over any of them. I want to watch the whole damn thing. It's not, you can't appreciate a piece of it without appreciating the whole package.
And I think I need to watch Quantum of Solace again, because I've read a couple of retrospectives now that have made me think I need to watch Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace in one long sitting, and I might enjoy it better.
I don't know. Whatever. Those movies for me just didn't work. But
Well,
does.
that's funny actually, because this kind of can segue back to what we were talking about before, and I'm gonna butcher her name because she was the Bond girl in Quantum of Solace, Olga Kurilenkov or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Highly, highly Russian name. But I remember when I first saw her was in Hitman, the dreadful movie, which should have been his tagline. All she was TNA. That was it.
Yeah.
Literally to the point where at one point she just got naked solely for the sake of getting naked. And it was like, well, that's kind of a shame because she looks like she might actually know what she's doing acting wise. And then you see the complete turnaround, and then you go to Centurion, where she was like the baddest, craziest,
Yep.
like motherfucker in that movie.
Yeah,
And so it's funny when you see that kind of, when you can see an actress who's able to turn it around where it's like, all right, I'm going to take my top off to get into this movie, but then I don't know, maybe that line got crossed and they just you hear about it with quite a few actors, like George Clooney when he did, Batman Death of a Franchise. George Clooney, when that movie was done, he said, "Nope, that's it. I'm not doing a movie for the paycheck anymore. I'm doing it because I think it's a movie that should be made and I want to be in it."
hmm
And ever since then, he's just had this incredibly respectable career. It's not something that everybody can do. It blows up in some people's faces. But, I think sometimes that there is a bit of a line, and unfortunately, you have to step over it before you realize that you're never going to cross it again.
Yeah, for some actors. And then I was thinking of, like, when you mentioned her in strong female roles, I think of, and I'll forget her name right now, but if you've watched Vikings,
Oh yes, the his first wife.
his first wife.
Yeah.
Actually, pretty much all the female leads in that, or not female leads, but just female characters in that show have very strong, they're very strong roles and they're very well acted. Like, some of them are not. Some of them are there kind of to be subjugated, but they sell it. Like, they're not just kind of objectified,
Catherine Winnick.
Yes, like she on that show, she whenever she's on the screen, she commands the scene.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And she started like she started as a fighter. Like, she was a martial artist. She's got like martial art 3 or 4, I think it is, or 2 or 3 martial arts academies around the world. Like, that's how she got into it. She didn't come in as an actor. So she made the transition very well because A, she can act, and B, she can fight, seriously fight.
Isn't it funny how fantasy TV shows are where you'll find the strongest female characters?
Maybe because they're all make-believe? No, no.
What
Wait,
are you
what were we talking about again? No.
No, I find it incredibly ironic because, I mean, like, if you go through all of our early edition D&D or any kind of role-playing books whatsoever, and it's women basically, objectified in the armor that has no purpose whatsoever other than to protect the precious nipple, and then you look at these fantasy shows. There was one that I caught just kind of channel flipping. It was on Space. I don't even remember what it was called, but very much trying to be a kind of Game of Thrones, but with a little bit more magic involved into. Oh yeah, I think it was actually called Atlantis. And that one actually was, it showed a woman leading an army, into some kind of a dungeon, and the army refused to go with her, and so she was passed the knife from another woman who then stabbed like the lead soldier, like cold-hearted, left him for dead, turned to everyone else and said, "Anyone else?" And like she intimidated the hell out of these guys, and it was the way she carried it was very powerful, very well done. And I just kind of found myself being struck. It hit me right then and there. It's like, yeah, it's of all the genres, you'd think that fantasy would be trying to catch up, so to speak, just to become popular, but it seems almost more so part of its popularity is the fact that its female characters are being treated, like that they have a part to play other than look at my tits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's funny that you had mentioned earlier Game of Thrones as an example of strong female characters, where almost all the female characters have been at one point or another degraded or threatened with rape. And none of this never happens to the male characters. The only male character that's gone through that kind of degradation might be the Kingslayer.
Or the eunuch. But his all happened kind of...
Oh, yeah, but he's an incredibly powerful character.
No, I know. His stuff all happened before.
Yes.
I was going to say. His story is one of that, but yeah, it all happened beforehand. The other genre I'd say where women are getting a much more impactful role would be horror.
Yes, yeah.
Look at a lot of the maybe not a lot, but more and more horror movies of recent, the female casting has been much stronger, and I mean, often there's an element where they're abused or something. There's that point where they hit rock bottom and then they fight back. But I mean that happens a lot to male characters, and there's still that element, that kind of cliche in horror where the woman has to scream, but not every time, and far less frequently now. You have women which are the dominant force in a given movie, and I'm gonna like, if you look at Descent, that was kind of the first one that comes to my mind, which was an all-female cast.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, some of them went crazy, but if you had 5 guys or 6 guys in that situation, you would have that same sort of tropes within the characters. But that was extremely well done. You've got Let the Right One In, where it was a young girl, but like brilliantly acted. There was an older vampire film where back in like the early 80s or late 80s, 90s, where it was a female vampire.
The Hunger.
Well, no, yeah, The Hunger, but no, this isn't that one. She was, anyways, there was like Vampires and Mafia Men or something like that.
That's fucking awesome.
That's what it's called.
Vampires and Mafia.
Vampires and Mafia Men.
But she was never objectified. She wasn't like the classy, sexy vampire. She was a hunter and like a predator in that movie, and she was well done.
I think I remember that one, yeah, and I think it actually had the woman from La Femme Nikita in it in her first North American film.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was good. There was one right now. I mean, I should have taken the time to look some of these up. But the horror movie is a bunch of guys go to a house and guys show up and start killing everybody else. And then at the end of the film, it's the girl that kind of like kicks everybody's ass, and she's the one that they kind of set her up to look like the fragile sex symbol. But then the movie flips, and she is like trained as a survivalist and basically takes everybody out.
You're Next. I think that's one that I've seen. Yes.
You're Next. Like she was like very strong lead in that movie. There's just a lot of them in that horror genre now within the last, I'd say, maybe 5 years, where the female
Vampire and Mafia Men is a movie called Innocent Blood.
That's the
there
one.
We go.
Well done, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Google.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
Is that what you looked up? Vampire and Mafia Men?
No, at first I looked up Nikita.
Oh,
Vampire Mafia. I just Vampire Mafia movie, and it was the first result.
Boom.
Yeah.
Number one.
1992.
Yeah, and it's good. Yeah, so that's a good one. But I mean, horror. There's been a lot of them. I mean, Aliens, etc.
Yeah, it's almost become a bit of a staple, so to speak, where you can almost guarantee that the woman is going to be, not just the lone survivor, but eventually the ass kicker.
Yeah, I mean, the black guy still gets it first, so we've got that to deal with. But
not one struggle at a time.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you know who was in Innocent Blood?
Robert Loggia?
Kim Coates.
Oh yeah.
He what wasn't he in?
Yeah.
He played Ray. Remember Ray?
He might have been the boyfriend that she kind of like befriends, possibly in that movie.
I just remember him from Last Boy Scout. I mean, his part wasn't significant, but I don't know, the part that he had in Last Boy Scout always seemed to stick with me. And also too, the crazy guy in Waterworld, he did a really good job.
So I take it you don't watch Sons of Anarchy.
No, actually, I don't get FX.
Oh, that's a shame, because his character would stand out if you've watched Sons of Anarchy.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun on that show.
But there's another one that has, I mean, the male cast is definitely dominant in Sons of Anarchy, but really, like, you've got Gemma, she's the patriarch, she is the queen bitch in that show. Matriarch? Matriarch. So she is like the queen bitch in that show, and yes, bad things happen to her as they do to like everybody else in that show, but there's a show with not a lot of primary female cast, but every one is very strongly written.
But again, like Sons of Anarchy is quality TV, so my expectations are a little bit higher, and I think that not always, but I think that if you have thoughtful writers and a thoughtful director, you generally get quality production, and by the same token, you generally have stronger female characters. It's just that it's not. It's unfortunately not common. Just like quality TV and quality movies are not common, which is why we
Yeah.
are surprised when we see them. That actually inclusive and equal roles for women are, or honestly minorities for that point, just are not common. And so we really notice them when they happen. Who'd have thought we could have got so much time out of that topic? With a little diversion on awesome martial arts movies.
Hmm.
Well, isn't that kind of a staple of this podcast? You know, the 5-minute segue into the latest awesome action film, and then okay, back on topic.
Come on now.
So about poverty.
Danny the dog was poor, but he beat the shit out of people. I did not know Kim Coates was Canadian.
Yep.
Saskatoon.
That's awesome.
And he is related to the. So what's his name? He was in. He played. Oh man, I have had too much beer tonight.
Or not enough.
Yeah, either way. In the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, the guy who played.
Raphael?
No, the guy that wears the
Leonardo.
hockey. The guy that,
Elias.
Casey Jones.
yeah, Pete Jones.
Casey Jones.
Casey Jones. So he is related to that guy, who's also his last name's like Cote. It's very similar, but
Yeah, it's Elias Cotes or something like that. Yeah.
yeah. So they're like they're tied together. It's kind of interesting.
Huh.
Because if you look at them on the screen, like the one looks like the younger version of the other, but they're not really younger. Like they're kind of a similar age. But so first when I was watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles again, I was thinking Elias Cotes was Kim Coates when he was younger, but it's like no, they're different guys. But then I kind of, anyways.
But they do. There is a bit of a familiar resemblance.
Yeah, well,
Look at
and they are.
look at the photo on IMDb, and you can see that there's
Yeah,
and he's from Montreal.
yeah, they're related through. There's an uncle or somewhere in there. I forget where I stumbled across that, but
Canada. We're so
Yeah.
awesome.
that's right. Well, there's only 5.
Canada.
There's only 10 of us, so you know.
Of course, they're related. They're both Canadian.
That's right.
Well, there goes that stereotype.
You know, Bob from Canada.
There's a green MG. You know.
Actually, when I was in Scotland one time with a truck driver, he mentioned his cousin or a friend of his cousin or whatever, had moved to Canada, John,
You know.
and
John.
he was in Vancouver. Like, oh God, John got hit by a bus.
Oh, John's dead, man.
That was probably a terrible thing to do. But anyways. Well, I guess that's that topic. Anything anyone wants to say? Or, I mean, we've almost got an hour. We could talk more about some other stuff if someone has something to talk about.
There's lots of stuff we could talk about, but I don't know whether I want to get into another heavy topic.
Well, very quickly, you mentioned that you had seen Interstellar. Have you seen it recently, or did you see
Yeah,
it
I
when
saw it not last weekend, but the weekend before.
Is it like been re-released, or is this in a repertory cinema?
I don't think we're talking about the same movie.
Interstellar? Because I saw it like, 2 months ago?
Like you're talking the one with
Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it 2 weeks ago.
So it's still in first run, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like repertoire theater. No.
There's a theater in the States that actually was selling unlimited and interstellar passes. So you pay one pass price and you can go see the movie as many times as you like because
I don't
does...
think it was that good.
No, but they were expecting it because, let's face it, when you've got someone who's got a couple of billion-dollar movies under their belt, it'd be the same thing. Like James Cameron could come up with a half-hour documentary on the evolution of Kleenex, and they'll still try and probably sell an unlimited pass to that movie.
What's it
as
called?
well.
I gotta get tickets. What's it called?
It was called Sniffles.
James Cameron's Sniffles.
Sniffles the Wonder Dog.
It's going to be in 3D. He's going to make up some new technology for it,
Yeah,
and
there
there will be nozzles attached to the top and the bottom of the screen, so that when someone sneezes,
one of those 5D rides.
very kind of like 1950s, verite style. With there will be electric volts under your seat.
Anyways, Interstellar. Yeah, I think I liked it.
There,
So
Well,
two
what?
thumbs across.
Yeah.
There's one up, one sideways.
I think so. I mean, I had some big problems with it,
Yes, so did I.
but in the end, I found it incredibly entertaining. I thought that almost all of the acting in it. Strangely enough, the worst acting that I think was in the movie was Matt Damon in his stunt casting role, and I just don't think he delivered that really well. It may have been the writing or whatever, but everyone else I was very impressed with. The science,
Hmm.
yeah, and I mean I know that Kip Thorne, who actually won a bet against Stephen Hawking regarding black holes, so he's obviously like a super genius. But I know that he was consulting on the black holes themselves, but kind of like the historical consultants on Ridley Scott's Gladiator, I don't think they always listened to him.
Right.
So there
And
were. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and there were they did things in that movie that didn't hit me at the time, but on the way home, it
Yeah.
sort of let me shaking my head like, what? Why would they do that? It didn't make any sense to me.
And in case anyone's microphone cut out, they're talking about Interstellar, not some kind of animal porn, because that last bit of dialogue could easily carry over one way or the
Why
other.
would they do that?
most of
curious.
what we say, if you could.
Yeah, can be substituted with animal porn. All right, all right. I'm curious, what part did Matt Damon have in this movie?
He played the back end of the horse. Just that's. I haven't seen it. That's just the rumor that I just
I
started.
would
Now.
I would strongly suggest anybody that likes science fiction should go and see this in a movie theater. Number one, because it's visually astounding.
Matt Damon plays a scientist,
And
and I don't know how far I want to go.
yeah,
into...
exactly. I don't really
Oh,
want to.
okay, so that wasn't a mix-up with Matthew McConaughey. That's what I was wondering about.
No.
No,
It's
no.
Matt Damon is in this movie.
Okay. Never mind. Let's forgive the rookie then.
Yeah.
Noob.
Like seriously, I would strongly suggest people go and see this movie. And again, there were a lot of problems with it, but it's kind of like okay, Star Trek. When J.J. Abrams put out the Star Trek movie, I had huge problems with it, but it was a fun movie, and I really enjoyed it, and it was something that should have been seen in the theater, right? Because it gave you that experience, and
That's how I feel about Interstellar.
exactly.
That's why I wanted to see it before it was out of the theater, because one of the things that blew my mind were the visuals.
Yes.
The cinematography and the CG is phenomenal. And to see it on a television, regardless of whether you have a big screen or not, would be you'd miss something.
Yep.
The visuals are absolutely stunning, and the sound engineering is incredible as well.
Oh God.
So yeah, that's the main reason. I had heard mixed reviews about it. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people thought it was ridiculous. The best way I could describe what I thought about it without giving anything away is it felt like Nolan was trying to make a new 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yep.
And it didn't quite make it.
It wasn't as smart.
Right. It's like that's what he was going for, but it didn't get quite far enough.
But see, and part of the problem is that Stanley Kubrick explained nothing in 2001: A Space Odyssey. People are still trying to figure out what exactly happened, whereas Christopher Nolan felt he had to tell you exactly what was happening.
Yeah.
But when he does that, you're like, that actually doesn't work. So if you leave it open, people will discuss it and say, it could be this, it could be that. But if you try to, okay, this is exactly what happened, then people can start picking holes in it. And how he did it, and again, the deeper I got into the movie, the more problems I was finding with the science, and that was problematic. And I'm not talking about like really nitpicky stuff. There was one guy, Phil Plait, who writes on Slate.com. He's actually an astronomer. The bad astronomer is what he calls himself. But he was arguing about how, for the amount of time that passed on the tidal wave planet when they were down there, it would actually have to be much closer to the black hole. And I'm like, nobody really cares about that. Like, they got tidal dynamics from the huge gravity of black hole, and they put that on the screen. That's cool, right? Like, I don't care that the time dilation would have been 6 hours instead of 28 or 26 years or whatever it was supposed to be. Like, that's immaterial, right? Like, that's not something that messes up the story. But when you leave a particular planet and you travel for a long distance and then you arrive at another planet and then suddenly you're back at that same point, like, there were some real continuity errors within the movie that pulled me out of my willing suspension of disbelief, and that's what was causing me a problem.
For me, as far as that's concerned, it was simply them going down there in the first place. It struck me as there was no need. They wouldn't have had to go down. They wouldn't have had to go and land on the planet when they would have had the technology to take care of some things from orbit, and they didn't. There was no time spent on observing, or
Right.
I mean, I know they were worried about time, but at the same time, you'd think they would have at least spent some time studying and figuring out what they were in for, and there was none of that. Again, I think I'm getting into too much here, but for anybody.
No, but what's really good is that I didn't actually think about that, and you're absolutely right, because knowing the time dilation effect, because you're so close to the black hole, and this is not giving anything away, this is right in the trailers. Being so close to the black hole, you know that if you go down, there's going to be an extensive amount of time dilation. You would spend hours, perhaps days, doing observation rather than actually going down.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes total sense. I actually honestly didn't even think about that. It's a really good point. So I mean,
that's what Mel and I were talking about on our, like, after we left the theater, we were on our way home. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. Why would they even? They were.
Yep.
But it made.
So it has the same flaws as Star Trek.
But it made for a good scene.
There's the science, like, they actually try to stick to the science, but unlike Star Trek, where they threw everything that we know about anything out the window in order to have an exciting action movie, which is fine. My thoughts of Star Trek we can do a whole other episode on. But Interstellar, they honestly tried to stay closer to science. But again, kind of like Ridley Scott with the historians in Gladiator. There was a quote on the one of the tracks where he's talking about the movie, and he's like, "Well, the historians say that it wouldn't work this way, but what do they know?" I'm just like, "Wait, what did you just say?" So it's kind of the same thing. Like, he hires some of the smartest people, like Christopher Nolan hires some of the smartest people on the planet about black holes and how they work, and then he's like, "Yeah, but what do they know?"
Yeah, but that doesn't work on a screen.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's it for me tonight.
All right, cool. I should probably pack it in also. So, good night from Fraser.
Good night from Rob.
Good night from Chris.
Oh,
Good night from
what?
Jorge.
Good night from who? What?
What? Hey, oh,
Oh, Todd's still here.
hello.
What's amazing is since we started recording, the Mac didn't kick you out.
I know.
It's trying to prove you're wrong,
now
brother.
I'm about to get kicked out, like right now.
Well, you will be anyways.
Okay, now, maybe now.
Now.
Okay, now. See, nothing's working right.
All right, thanks for listening.
Good night.